This is Ride Beyond, and today we're diving into a machine that perfectly blended muscle, luxury, and pure 60s attitude, the 1964 Pontiac Grand Prix. It wasn't just a car. It was a statement. In a time when American manufacturers were flexing hard with performance and style, Pontiac brought something special to the table with this one. And more than half a century later, it still turns heads like few others. At first glance, the 64 Grand Prix has that unmistakable wide-track Pontiac look. The front end is bold, clean, and confident, with stacked headlights flanking a wide split grille that's all business. Chrome details are just right, not too much, not too little, just enough to accent the long, low body lines that make the car feel sleek without being soft. The sculpted rear quarters flow effortlessly into a crisp rear deck, topped with unique taillights that were tucked into the bumper. From every angle, it looked powerful and poised. This wasn't just a cruiser. It was a gentleman's muscle car. Pontiac kept things classy and aggressive by fitting the Grand Prix with just a touch of sportiness. You'd often find it riding on rally-eye wheels, wrapped in period-correct red lines, giving it that low-slung, ready-to-run stance. The ride height was just right, the proportions were spot-on, and with a pillarless hardtop design, you got that open, airy feel when the windows were down, true 60s style. Inside, Pontiac knew what drivers wanted. The cabin was surprisingly refined for a car that could tear up a straightaway. You stepped into a cockpit-style interior that wrapped around the driver. Bucket seats came standard, separated by a sleek center console with a floor shifter, giving the car a sporty edge. The dash featured clear, round gauges framed in brushed aluminum, with a wood-trimmed steering wheel and accents that made it feel upscale. Even the door panels were trimmed with bright work and stitching, reminding you this wasn't some bare-bones muscle car, it had comfort and class. Under the hood is where things really came alive. The standard engine was a 389 cubic inch V8, and even in its base form, it was no slouch. You had options, though, and lots of them. Buyers could spec their Grand Prix with a 421 cubic inch V8, which brought big torque and a snarling exhaust note. Depending on the configuration, horsepower ranged from around 303 to over 370, and if you ticked the right boxes, you could get tri-power carburation and a 4-speed manual transmission. That setup turned this luxury coupe into a legitimate street brawler. It was heavy, sure, but with that kind of power and low-end grunt, it moved with surprising urgency. The Grand Prix wasn't built for corners, but it handled better than many of its full-size competitors, thanks in part to Pontiac's wider track stance and beefier suspension tuning. It was meant to glide down highways, power through long sweepers, and eat up miles with ease. And when you laid into the throttle, it responded with a surge of torque that reminded you what American muscle was all about. The exhaust had a low, rumbling growl, and the car had that planted, confident feel you don't find much anymore. Back in 1964, the Grand Prix sat between the no-nonsense GTO and the more luxurious Bonneville, and it nailed that balance. It offered real performance but didn't compromise on comfort. It was the kind of car you could daily during the week and tear up the backroads on the weekend. And while it didn't outsell some of the more affordable models, it built a reputation for being one of the best all-around Pontiacs of its era. Today, a clean 64 Grand Prix is a gem in the collector world. Prices vary based on engine options, originality, and condition, but they're steadily climbing. A well-kept example with the 421 in factory options can command real money at auctions, while solid drivers can still be found without completely breaking the bank. Either way, it's a car that's earned its respect over the years, and it still delivers smiles every time the key turns.